Welcome to Keep It Real. I'm Anna. She's Avarie. And guys, we're back, but I hate to say that we're back because it's been, I think, since July.
Well, technically our last one, oh my God, I'm like really tangled here. Technically our last one was like May, but I think our College World Series ones like don't kind of count, but they do count because they're live streams. So
right.
The College World Series.
Yeah. We haven't really recorded in the studio for, since the summer, truly. Since May, June.
Yeah, but we're gonna be good.
Yeah, we are that toxic relationship that you have that says they're back and we'll keep coming back, but you never really know.
We have a new producer.
We do have a new producer. Shout out Jocelyn because we're going to do our best here. So
we are. We've had some fun things that's been going on and we always say that. We're like, okay, let's catch you up. But we actually have some fun stuff and we're going to be more like regular. So we have more stories instead of being like, let's give you our schedule.
Let's give you 5 months of everything that we've done because that's just not possible.
No. But I want to start with your sweatshirts because we're going to get right into it.
Yeah.
So we had the very cool privilege of getting to be a very, very, very small piece of the ALDS in Kansas City when the Yankees came to town, which obviously a little bit of a kudos to you for having a long-standing relationship with the Storm Chasers. I know you had an internship there for a while and you've had that connection to cover the Storm Chasers. So when I was watching those games and like the nostalgia was creeping in. I was like, oh my gosh, like we haven't had playoff baseball in Kansas City since 2014, 2015. And I was literally 14, 15. So like instantly my inner child was like, oh my God, this feels so exciting. And the minute they won, who would they play against right before that? Why am I blanking? Before the Yankees?
Oh, the A's? That wild card game?
Was it the A's?
I don't know. The wild card game.
Yeah, the wild card
A's.
series.
Yeah.
All I can think of is New York right now.
Yeah.
The minute they won that, I was like, oh my God, like I have to go home. I get to go home. It's a bye week. And you're like, I'm applying this for credentials. And it even crossed.
Oh, you're talking about this year?
This year.
Oh, hell no. That was not the A's. Well, I was thinking about 2014.
We were on the road and Orioles.
Orioles. Yeah.
Well, you said
easy team to forget.
You said the A's and I was like, well, now I can't even remember. Yeah.
Oh, the A's were horrible. They had the worst record.
They literally got rid of their stadium.
Yeah, they literally aren't a thing
I promise
anymore.
you guys, we know sports. Sorry,
Okay.
The Yankees like blocked my memory. So they won at Baltimore on that wild card series. You were like, I'm applying for credentials, and because I'm from there, and like that was.
Are you from there?
Did you know that? I just
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I let everyone know. Because I'm from there, my instant mind like went to being a fan and like going back to being like a child, honestly. And so when you said that, I'm like, oh my God, it even crossed my mind. Like I don't ever get to cover sports in my own city.
Yeah.
And so I'm so happy that you did that. And immediately, I think it was a few days following we got approved. And I know this was like a big one for you too. Like for me, I was reliving like a memory, but in a different perspective. But you bought this sweatshirt.
I did.
When we were there for
postseason sweatshirt if you're not watching.
Yeah, game 4.
Yep.
And our second night there, and you were like, I'm healing my like inner child right now. And we never really got to talk about that. So like, why was that such a thing for you?
I mean, probably because I've always been a Royals fan in the 13, 14, 15 era. I mean, I went to a few regular season games, but I never went to the postseason. Yeah. Like me and my family just never went down there. And I remember like vividly watching on TV, which is why I think about the A's, because I remember the wild card game and the hit down third base.
Yeah, now that you say this is like all coming back.
Yeah, and I remember I was sitting on my bed watching the game and just like freaking out. I remember my dad let me stay up late to like watch the game.
Such a big thing.
Yeah. And I don't know, like you just have those childhood memories, and then I was like, you have to get like a little memento from the games, and that's what I'm trying to do more of. So we got the postseason sweatshirts. We actually have matching ones.
Yeah.
And I was like,
tell me.
This is going to heal my inner child because I didn't get to go as a kid, and now as an adult I get to go and cover it and actually like have a credential and be a part of the media. And I would have died. Like if I would have told that to my then like 13-year-old self, I would have like blown up.
No,
would have been like, no way.
Yeah. I had so much going on that week because we had Summit League Media Day the day before. So like we literally drove up to Sioux Falls together. We had a hotel together and we were watching the Chiefs Monday night game and we were watching the Royals play.
Yeah, to see if we'd even
get to
be in Kansas City for 1 or 2 games.
Yes, because they already had started the series in New York. So we were like, okay, we know that we're in, but we only either get one game, or if they win this tonight, we get 2 games. Yeah. So we were watching on my laptop, we were watching on the TV. We literally were prepping for our show the next day. And then we drove back the next day. I went straight to Kansas City. I saw you the next day. So I don't even think I had enough time to like really process until that morning. Like I was running some errands in Kansas City and I had to do some last minute things. And I was like getting ready and I was like, wait, whoa. Like it finally was hitting me. Like I hadn't slowed down at all this week, that week. And so to go do that was just like you said, for you, it was like, you know, you didn't get to experience that. You were watching from here. And like, for me, I think I knew what to expect. I went to, in 14-15, I got to go to one game during the World Series. And so like, I knew like,
that's so cool.
The peak of like how loud it's going to be and like the excitement and just everything. And I told you and Sydney this, and we'll get into this, but I was like, it made going to Royals games after those 2 years so hard because you'd walk in, you're like, why is not everyone standing up?
Yeah,
where are the
postseason baseball is just
you're like,
different.
where are the rally towels? Like, what is going on? Like, so there's that whole aspect that I was like anticipating. So to see you guys like get to enjoy that too, and like Sydney obviously works for the MLB and things like that, so she's seen so many different games and she's never seen Kaufman like that, and so I was also like just like so excited for you guys. So I had a little bit of knowing what was gonna feel like.
Yeah, we had no idea really what to expect, but it
to be on the
exceeded
media portion was so cool. Like I know you'd say this too, but like getting to be that close to, obviously the Royals are like fantastic, and like it was really cool to be just kind of in their atmosphere before a huge game like this. But then for any of the teams to be in town and for it to be the New York Yankees,
to see
like
the Yankees,
a brand like that,
cool.
and like to have future MVP players like an arm's length away, and just like understanding the size of them and like just the everything, like their pregame, everything, the way they interact with one another. And I mean, for some of them, like obviously like this is Aaron Judge's first World Series. Like he hasn't, I mean, I don't know, just to see these players up close like that was just so incredible.
Yeah. Again, if I would have told myself 10 years ago, I would have never believed that. And I'm sure you'd pretty much say the same, but also really cool moment having myself, Avarie, and then Sydney Schneider on the field, all grads of UNO at Omaha, all School of Communication grads. So really cool to see us three all kind of get to realize a dream together, because we hadn't really been at an event working together in a while, really since
swim trials.
Yeah, maybe the Olympic swim trials in Omaha, but we haven't had one that we've all three been at. Yeah. And it was cool. Like I just remember seeing Sydney and like giving her the biggest hug because I'm just so proud of. I mean, she wasn't even into sports photography when I met her initially. Like she was just doing weddings and seniors and that kind of photography. And then she really realized her skill set and her dream of going into sports. And now she literally photographed Patrick Mahomes' pregnancy announcement with his wife. So
casual.
She's gone up for sure. But like, it was just such a cool moment to see all three of us, like all the journeys that we've been through together and like every hurdle that's ever been in the way, like just to kind of have a little hurrah moment together on the field. Like it was really cool.
That, and like none of it's been planned. Like I know we both after college, like both didn't really know exactly like our first steps. And so for us to both end up here, I don't think we realized we'd both be here together. And then Sydney was like on the job hunt for a while because she was like a year before us. So she had to go into the whole COVID thing and doing senior photos and weddings and all that kind of thing. She kind of was like self-employed. Yeah. She got down to Kansas City and actually took a full-time job. And then that's when everything kind of opened up for her, not even planning. Like MLB reached out, and then she met the Chiefs head photographer, and now she does that. So she doesn't have to work her full-time job anymore, and she gets to do exactly what she wants to do. And then for us to all be on that same field, like it wasn't like this as okay, we all work under the same umbrella, or we all work under the same company or whatever it is. Like obviously me and you do, but just like we're not regulars in the Kansas City area, but like we do have a tie. So the fact that she now works not just for the Royals but for the MLB, so like she was an automatic in there, and then for me and you to be able to get there, it just was really cool. I think for us to be like, we know at some point like we'll be able to cross paths at times, but like not in this capacity.
Yeah, we had no idea what it would look like.
Totally.
Really.
And like we got to meet a lot of her MLB network and MLB like coworkers. And when you explain it to people, they're like, wait, you guys didn't know each other really as athletes. You knew each other because of like your interest in sports. And we're like, yeah, we did. And like we created this thing on our own because like we wanted to unite one another. And we literally invited Sydney to this thing. And now here we are. Like it's not like we all graduated from, you know, a massive school. Like
no. And that's my favorite part. It's like, we're not 3 Syracuse grads and Arizona State grads. No offense to any of those schools. Those are great schools, but like, you don't have to go to the biggest school. You don't have to have all these crazy opportunities right off the bat to get to where you want to be. Yeah.
Like, it's all about, I mean, I tell, and I know you do this too, like people will shadow us or they'll reach out to us all the time. It's really like my favorite things to respond to. Cause like, we're in the midst of it right now. Like, we haven't made it anywhere. Like, we're literally in the early grinding portions of our careers. And I think it's just so cool when people like want to reach out and ask us things. Cause like, I think that's the most real and authentic, like, advice you can give. Like, hey, like, you might think I'm so much further along than you are because you see me on a screen more often, but like, literally make your own opportunities. And I promise you, like, good things will happen. And so I think when we look back on it, like you just said, like the whole big school thing opportunity, like obviously these huge schools have, you know, they launch you into the next thing, but like whatever opportunities you can create for yourself while you're in college, like you have no idea what it's going to lead to. And I think all 3 of us would say that, like, oh my gosh, how crazy that just going out and doing led to.
Yeah. Like, it's all these little moments that have led up to the big moments, right? Yeah. It's like these little connections, and me working for the Storm Chasers and inviting Sydney out one day, having you out there a few days as well, and like meeting those people, building those connections. Did I know that the Royals would have this amazing turnaround and go to the ALDS and host? Like, no, of course I didn't. But like, you build those relationships and you don't ever know what those will lead to. So it's really fulfilling to see that, you know, come to fruition and have those relationships with Bobby Wood Jr.
I was just gonna say,
you know, MJ Melendez and those guys, because, you know, I saw them when they were losing 100+ games, right? And so to be a part of their story,
like when they were teenagers.
Yeah, when they were teenagers. I mean, honestly, our age, really, like you kind of grow up with them, and to see their development and to see them finally get, you know, a postseason. And I mean, there's so much to come for that team, but it's funny because it kind of parallels us, right? Like, we are these young people in this industry trying to make a name for ourselves. And, you know, you would say the same with athletes kind of going up in the system, and especially with the Royals too. But like, it is fun to see that growth. And like, I don't know, it was just like a big realization moment being on the field at the ALDS and like getting to look around and be like, whoa, we made it here. Sometimes I'm like, don't know how this happened, but you know, we're here and we deserve it. We earned this and we worked for it. It's not, hey, you got lucky. Yeah. It's always those moments and opportunities that you took advantage of previously that leads you to these moments. So
yeah, I had some people ask like what we were there for, like how that all worked out. So essentially in a brief, I guess, synopsis, because our company doesn't like really peg us into one hole, like we are able to capture and cover a lot of different things regionally, not just here in Omaha and Nebraska, because there is a, you know, general public interest in the Royals.
Yeah, social media, if you didn't know, does go beyond Omaha, Nebraska.
That is true. So you have the Storm Chasers immediate link, and like here in Omaha where we have Supernovas, but outside of that, like there's not other professional sports. So a lot of people kind of pick this big radius and then pick a team. And for a lot of people in Omaha, the Royals are that. So we do know that people here in this area care. So that's also why we were able to be there. But we got down there, we did some social, obviously, and just being able to capture that environment for people here and just in general. We also did cover after when the Yankees did win, because there's a very large population of people that love the Yankees that live across the country. And that was a really cool portion. I think we haven't even touched on that because I don't know. Like, I think sometimes it's funny. Like, we kind of assume like people are always thinking, I think the way that we do, like we are essentially like fan consumerism media. Like we want to capture what we think fans want to be a part of. And like our credential gets us into places that fans can't be. And like, does a video always tell a story that like, or an interview can do? Like it can't, like, it's not always just us talking to people. Like us getting to stand where we stood when the Yankees came off the field and they were heading to, you know, the next round, the ALCS or whatever, like no one else gets to see that, but we get to bring, whether it's a Yankees fan or just a general baseball fan, like what that emotion is like. Like Aaron Judge is so calm and composed and like on to the next. Some guys are coming out that tunnel and they're screaming and they're excited and they're still fiery and you got a lot of emotions coming in. Like that's a lot of things that not everyone gets to experience. And like, do we kind of wish we would have had it maybe the other way to give like,
that would be cool to see the Royals
more of the fans here have the Royals that? Sure. But like how often do you get to record, you know, Stanton and Judge and Juan Soto and like all those kind of guys and literally be the first people they see when they come off the field. So we have that too. And like, I think we were obviously a lot of people were in the locker room, like their team media and stuff, but like we looked around and we were like, no one else is really around us. Like we're the only ones here right now and we're allowed to be here. Like we were able to go on the field afterwards and like get that raw emotion and the celebration.
Really
so
cool.
Getting to be that close to just those emotions, I think is I think me and you both like love that. Like obviously there's the interview portion that we always want to have, cause like that's just what we want to really do someday. But when you're able to tell a story the way we are through literally a phone, sometimes it's just like so fun to bring that to people and like give them the real authentic look of like, hey, this is exactly what's happening right now. And like, so that was really cool for us. And so we had that portion. And then before the games, because you had some of those previous connections, we got to talk to those guys. And then there were some formers in the house. And so they were more than willing to want to talk to us. So you never know who's willing to talk to you. So we have that too.
Ask.
So so we had some interviews, which was great. Obviously we wanted some post-game stuff, but it is what it is. It's okay.
Royals didn't pull through, but that's okay.
Yeah.
They're young.
Yeah, it was great.
Again, they got a bright future.
Yeah. So there's our little ALDS recap. I'm sure we're missing things and it'll pop up in our next conversation. But and now we move on to the next.
What is next?
Well, you're going to have basketball. I've had football. The last few weeks have been, I will say, really cool, challenging, but really cool. Like going to Indiana, their campus was stunning. Like I remember I told David this when we were traveling there. I was like, when I was like 13, I sent their head coach like an email being like, because like when you're in like a freshman in high school, like you're taking like your radius and you send all these emails out because you're like, hey, I'm going to be here this weekend. I'm going to be in Chicago. I'm going to be in Phoenix. Like, here's my schedule, whatever. And I remember seeing their campus online and like looking up their schedule in the Big Ten. I thought it was like, oh my God, that campus, like there's no no's. Like when you're in the very early, like, it's just like, you know, you got to be kind of selective, but it's like, okay, just
they'll let you come visit and stuff.
Just getting your email to like coaches so you can let them know this is my schedule. Or if you have any small interest, it's like, okay, getting your name out there, or come watch my team play, or come watch us play this team or whatever. Or sometimes if you knew your opponent and they were from a certain area, like those coaches might be there anyway. So just putting a little bug in their ear or whatever. And I was laughing because I like loved their campus and I liked that they were in the Big Ten. And I was like, I'm sure he really liked my 13-year-old self email. I'm sure it was really good.
I would love to go and
I'm sure. The
signature is like peace and love.
Yeah. Peace, love, please recruit me. So I loved their campus, but I've never been there. And so getting to walk that like in the heart of fall was like so cool.
I bet all the trees and everything.
So that's one of the cool parts about getting to travel is like going to see, and I know you get to do that for like tournaments and stuff and whatever, but getting to see other campuses and like student life. And I mean, their campus was,
there's nothing like a college campus.
No,
really.
and like, yeah, it was so fun. It was homecoming weekend. Their student union was stunning. It was massive. It was so cozy. People were just sitting outside hanging out. Like it was so fun. Like they had these little trails that were like in the trees that like you didn't have to take those. Like I don't think I would recommend anyone walk there at night kind of thing, but it was super cozy during the day. Like there was other routes to go to classes and buildings and stuff, but they had like another one weaved in. It was like all through the trees and a little path and all these kinds of things. And their little main street of restaurants and stuff was so fun, like so much energy. And I mean, I don't know how you couldn't with just like what's going on with them right now, like undefeated for the first time since the 60s. And Big Noon was there. It was like the tailgate scene was fantastic. Like I'm usually pretty biased about Nebraska. Like even though we cover it like pretty unbiased, it's like just growing up here, you get a taste of what it's always been and whatever. And so you go other places and you're like, it's okay, it's all right. But the excitement and the energy before the game did feel very Lincoln-like. But beyond that, like it was not so much down in like a market. It's more huge open space that everyone pulls their cars into. Like, there's tailgates everywhere. Like it's not like kind of sporadic. It's all in this one spot, which I thought was like so fun. Obviously the result was what it was, but it was interesting to see another product, right? Like another brand. That was a tough week.
How was Ohio State?
Ohio State was cool. It was cool. It was coming off the week that it was afterwards.
Yeah.
It was tough. Like I remember in the middle of the week last week, I was like, I just feel like kind of emotionally drained. Not even because I'm taking the brunt of everyone's thoughts and actions and criticisms of the team, but like you have to constantly talk about it. And like, it felt like the sky was falling. And it just was weird. Like after that week, I was like, gosh, everyone, it's almost like the season's over and it's come to like it's crumbled and everything that they did before this doesn't matter. And it's like all for naught. And it just was like to talk about it, have to bring up the game again. And then everything you said, someone was like, wrong. Yeah. And that's just how sports is, obviously. So to go to Ohio State and have that kind of performance in that game, it just was nice to, I think, see some positivity a little bit. But
you're like, okay, we lost, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, no, 100% no. Like I think the team was able to like, hey, if we can do that against the number 4 team in the country, like
yeah, it was an impressive performance.
That's what's expected. And I think it'll be a good thing, hopefully, for this team. But the horseshoe was cool.
Yeah.
It's I would say maybe outside of Wisconsin, it's the only other university that I've been to where the stadium is like the thing, you know, like, I don't know, the other stadiums are okay and they're like fine, but they're not bigger than Memorial usually. They don't feel as grand as Memorial or like have as much history. The horseshoe definitely did.
Oh yeah.
Obviously everyone knows
in
that.
Michigan. I don't think
we haven't gone there yet. Yeah. No, we haven't. I think that might be next year. So that was cool. And they have a lot of like pregame antics like Nebraska does. Like there's a lot of people on the sidelines. They have like a really great product. They're obviously a national brand.
But they don't have Will Compton doing
like what?
Pregame videos.
Yeah, no.
Humping up the crowd.
I will say they had a really cool tunnel entrance, like because so ours is the gates at Nebraska. So you open and it's like a really condensed little space. Ohio State, it's like this massive looking like garage door. It doesn't open, but it's like that's what it looks like. It's a big tunnel.
Like okay,
so
in the corner.
Yeah. So both teams come out of the same corners. So same side. When they came out for warm-ups, like it was kind of a big ordeal. Like everyone was ready. They have these big lights on top. It's like you can see the whole ramps. You can see this massive team like all lining up. Where like in Nebraska, you only see like the first like 10 guys.
Right, yeah.
And then you have like the screen. That was a little bit intimidating. I was like, ooh, I kind of like that. Like it seems like here comes this like this all
here comes
the
number 4 team in the country.
Yeah. Like here come all these guys, right? So that was kind of cool. I did like that, but I know I'm biased, but I don't think the product before like Indiana, their band played for too long. There's too many pauses. I was like, okay, now what happens? And then the video went, and I was like, okay, all right. Crowd was into it, right? Ohio State, good video, great product. Everyone knows they like highlight a lot of their NFL draft picks and all these things. Band played, obviously everyone knows.
Best band, yeah.
But when the song played, I like didn't know the team was coming. There was no like cue, like, okay, now here they come kind of thing. I had chills when Nebraska came out at Ohio State. And I say that because Ohio State comes out before the national anthem. And so Nebraska does not come out yet. Like they keep the opposing team in there. They do their whole little thing. And then they play like We Will Rock You. And everyone waits for the opposing team to come out. And I don't know, but I kind of thought like this is not something I would want Nebraska to do to an opposing team. Cause I was like, look, everyone is waiting for Nebraska. Like here they come. Like
they made a big deal about it.
Kind of. We're like, where opposing teams come out at Nebraska. It's like, we don't really care. We didn't even know you came out.
Yeah.
Where I was like, our team
That's interesting that they do that.
Yeah, our team comes walking down the hill basically, and it was like, all right, doubt us. Like that's kind of what it felt like, you know, like everyone's cheering against them. I saw the looks in everyone's faces. They were like locked in. They're coming down. All you see is all these white helmets. I don't know why, but probably because we're a little bit biased, a tad bit. Just like this is the team we cover, and obviously wanted them to do well. I wanted them to prove a little bit of something coming off that week, but it was like, all right. You just added another chip on our shoulder. Like we will rock you and you're all waiting for us. Like it wasn't like we just like entered the field. It was like,
yeah, I mean, it adds more fuel to the fire for sure.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool. The horseshoe was great. I'm in a press box. I don't hear the sound entirely, but it got pretty quiet at times. There was some booze raining down at some point.
I know. I heard they threw bottles too.
They did after that. I mean, that was a crazy sequence.
Lame.
The targeting, the whole thing, that was kind of wild. Never really considered being in a danger zone when I'm on the sideline. Like I was down there and I was like, oh my God, they're throwing bottles. And all of a sudden I see these like full cheese cups and full like beers coming. I'm like, wait,
cheese cups?
Yeah. They were throwing their cheese cups from like pretzels and stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And like, as you're seeing like the cheese fly,
that's gross.
And like the beers are, I'm like,
it's almost worse than a drink.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, I'm kind of in danger. Like
I'd rather
like,
get hit by a beer than cheese.
Yeah, but they're full cans. So I'm like, literally all of a sudden I'm like, yeah.
That would hurt.
Yeah. Anyway, they pulled the teams in. I've never really been on, like you usually watch on TV and you're like, oh, that's so bad. Don't do that. And now here I am standing. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it could actually hurt you.
Yeah. And now I'm like, wait, so Coach Rule said afterwards, he like told all of his players like put their helmets on.
Yeah. When you walk out, don't take your helmet off.
Yeah. But I will say like, maybe I could be wrong. Cause like maybe the product of the game made it this way, but like it was a historical place, but I didn't feel like intimidated. It didn't feel like when I, like at Colorado, I was like, ooh, this is kind of like
the fans weren't.
It was loud at times and things, but like I didn't feel like it was loud. So I'm sure the players could, like, if they heard this, they'd be like, okay, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, it was so loud to them probably, because that last drive when they had Nebraska was driving and they had whatever, it got loud. But I wasn't sitting there being like, ooh, this is so daunting. Like, this feels like a really hard place to. I don't know. Like, maybe maybe that was just me because I was only down there for the last part of the quarter, but it was really cool nonetheless. Like, tons of history. Like, even the things that are engraved on the stadium that have an M in it are X'd out. Anything on the road signs around the stadium that say like, funny. Yeah, like, must turn here, like the M is out. Like, you just must know how to read things without M's in that city. Not kidding. Like, any road sign, like, you just no M.
That's funny.
0 M. Yeah. Sorry, I just talked a lot, but there's my Nebraska 2 weeks. So.
No, honestly, I haven't really caught up with you at all. So I was curious how those campuses kind of stacked up.
Yeah, we've had great locations this year. And then our last 2 are USC, which will be cool. We get to go to LA.
USC and UCLA.
And then
UCLA is here.
And then we go to Iowa City.
Oh, Iowa City's a cool campus too.
I've heard that. And
yeah, I've actually been there.
Yeah, David and I drove through it on the way to Purdue, and
it's a cool spot.
Yeah, everyone says it's like you don't really feel like you're in Iowa, which I would feel like. I've kind of said that about some other places. So yeah, there's that.
Okay, well, to wrap up, because we got a few minutes left, biggest lesson that you've learned over the past few months, what would you say that is?
Oh gosh,
you give yours, I'll give mine.
Wait, can you start? I need to think.
Okay.
You just turned that on me quick. Hold on.
I did, but I don't know.
Okay.
I would say biggest lesson I've learned recently is that not everybody has it figured out. I think that's the best lesson to learn, because like you see like us on Instagram too, and like we talk on this podcast about all these great things, but like also know that we don't have everything figured out. Yeah. Like, you look at other people, and like Aaron Andrews and Krista Thompson talked about this too. Like,
that is true.
We still get nervous before we go on there. Like,
yeah.
It's not like you look at your idols and they have it all figured out. They know what they're doing. They're 1000% confident. Like, we all have days where we're not confident. We don't believe in ourselves and we're like, why are we doing this? So like, you see a lot of the highlights, and this goes for every profession truly in everyone's life. I mean, you see the highlights on Instagram, you see the stories, you see whatever, but like, just know that like everybody is on the same page in terms of, hey, we don't all know what we're doing. 100%. Like, everyone doesn't have everything in order at all times, and that's okay.
Was that something that you feel like you felt about yourself or something? Or like, was it like maybe a moment like out of sports environment where you're like, oh, this is a good reminder for me?
Honestly, also listening to the Giggly Squad podcast, shout out Hannah Berner and Paige Sorba. I'm seeing them live in Phoenix in 2 days. That's super excited. But they also talked about it. So they're not in sports. They do like live shows and stuff. But I mean, I would look at Paige and Hannah and be like, oh my gosh, they're so good at what they do. They have it all figured out. They do all these live shows, and like, they can't get nervous. Like, there's no way. And I feel the same way when I see Aaron and Carissa on TV and stuff. And like, I don't know. I think it's just realizing that you don't have it all figured out. And like, when I have people come shadow me and stuff, that's like one thing I say is like, hey, I know it seems like you might be lost in your path, or like you're trying to figure out this and this to get to where somebody else is, but like, truly just focus on yourself and what you do, and that just know that not everything is as great as it seems sometimes. And like, I had one kid ask me like about getting the CBS job. Like, getting the CBS gig, and he's like, that must have been so cool. And I'm like, well, yeah, it is really cool, and like, it's cool to be on national TV, but it's also like, it doesn't like fulfill me. I'm not like, oh, like, I can stop now, you know? Like, you get all these things and you get all these milestones, but like, I don't know, I just know that everyone's still trying to figure it out. Like, it's not like I get that and I'm like, oh, I have all this confidence, I know I'm the best reporter in wherever I am, but like, I don't know, it's just like a funny thing to see other people's perspectives on you, because like, I don't know, internally I'm not like, oh, I'm the best I've ever been. Like, I have so much to work on. I know you think the same about yourself. Like, there's so much room to grow, but like, I don't know, you just don't, that's not portrayed typically. I like that. Yeah. So that's my soapbox.
Yeah. Now that you bring that up, I got a little time to think. I think something that I've realized about our job is, yes, the reporting part is fun, and yes, the doing the interviews is like what we love to do, and like getting to talk the sports. But I think the thing that I love telling people along the way too, and like you said, people when they like shadow or they reach out, the way like you conduct yourself when you go to these things is so important. And that's usually just like how you speak to people that you meet. And I think like that's half of the reasons I love like getting to go to certain venues and stuff, is because I love getting to meet new people, and I love to just like be so kind in those moments. Cause one, usually you're working with people that like are security, or they're working the elevator, or they're telling you where to go, those kind, and like, those are sometimes thankless jobs, but especially here in this area. But like, when you get to go to those venues over and over again, like those are some of the people you can't wait to see when you go do those things. And so like today it's reminding me, cause like I got to go to Baxter Arena, where I haven't been in a little while, cause like hockey season hasn't been happening. And like when you walk in and see like a few of the security people that are always there, and they're like excited to see you, and like those little things, like nuances of a game day, are so important. And I love getting to feel like I go back home.
You love the little things.
I do. I remind you guys that I am. But like, I think that's so important, because like it usually pays off like in big, like when I'm on the road these last few weeks, like I guess this worked out in my favor. I didn't realize it till later, but like I didn't realize that the security team that was going to be helping Nebraska get into the stadium, we just had kind of struck up a conversation earlier when I was trying to find my way to the elevator and things like that. And we just were being like having a genuine conversation and being kind to one another, and like having patience and all these things that later, when I got to ask them when like where Nebraska was going to enter, they were like, hey, they're going to enter this way. Here's the gate. I recommend you stand here. The other way is not going to work. And like just little things like that. And
being nice to everybody is like the number one
essentially
thing.
But like you don't usually know these people on the road, you know? And so I think sometimes they're always doing a thankless job, and I love getting to make connections with people like that. And sometimes when I'm sitting and talking to people in the press conference room, like they end up start telling you stories, and like they're like, I've been doing this for 40 years, and so was once in here, and I saw you talking to this person earlier. Did you know they did this? And so I think the people that you meet along the way,
people
sometimes
are the best part.
Or the behind the scenes situations, or like, I think we would say the same thing, but when we were at the ALDS, like getting to meet some of the local news people, just because we like struck up a conversation with them, it led to now some connections between us and Kansas City, and just people like having an interest in what we do and like being supportive. And I think the network that you make when you're just like kind to people when you're working these events is like, just, it goes so much further.
You're never too small for anybody, and you're never too big for anybody.
Yeah.
I think it's like the biggest thing.
Yeah. And so I don't know if I explained all that the right way, but like, I think being at, obviously it's the university I went to, but like I see these people at a lot of events, and like just because we've grown a relationship over time, like it's just nice to like when you walk into a sporting event, people recognize you, and like they can have a conversation with you, and they care that you're there. Like when I go on the road, like no one really cares who I am until after I've gone up in the elevator a few times and I've struck up conversation with the person that's operating it. Now by the fourth time, she's like, okay, what's going on out there? And like now it's just,
those are always the best people too.
Yeah. You feel a little bit more comfortable. So of course, like when you're doing your job, do it to the best of your ability, but don't forget about the people that are like helping you, and like try and make some friendships. Cause I know like when we were with Sydney at the games, like she knew the operations people and all these things are like, hey Sydney, how's that? And I'm like, I totally understand that feeling, cause you got
to create a community.
Yeah. And I think that's the best part. So don't forget to like be a good person to the people that
be kind.
Yeah. It's not just the athletes, not just the coaches.
It's everybody involved.
Everyone matters. And like, that'll make your experience 10 times better.
Well, Avery, happy to be back with you on Keep It Real. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
We will, actually.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.